1-800-259-9231. 1-800-259-9231. I am Alex Jones. Glad that you could join us today. I'm looking for my sponsor folder here in front of me, flailing. I'm flailing around incoherently. We're going to go back to John Perkins here in just a moment. Before I do that, I want to tell you about one of our great new sponsors, and they are offering a deal the likes of which they've never offered before. So I would suggest everyone take advantage of this now. In fact, one of the most popular times of year is during the fall, and that is when the classes generally completely fill up quickly, and especially now because they're offering a free Springfield Armory XD pistol in the caliber of your choice. It's frontsight.com, frontsight.com, Front Sight Firearms Training with Dr. Ignatius Piazza. This is the biggest and most successful private firearms training facility in the country, above law enforcement, military, with no drill instructor or tough guy attitude. Find out about this incredible deal on 5 days of world-class firearms training at frontsight.com and a 30-state concealed weapons permit. That's frontsight.com. Check it out today. Okay, going now back to John Perkins, author of the new upcoming book, Hoodwinked, out November 10th. Again, previously he wrote The Secret History of the American Empire and, of course, Confessions of an Economic Hitman. You heard me throw out that question as more and more comes out. I mean, Cheney ordering private hit teams and Delta Force hit teams to murder his enemies overseas, corporate enemies overseas. Ridge being ordered to issue fake terror alerts. And Obama is saying no investigation of torture, no investigation of Blackwater, no investigation of any of this. Or he'll do the corporate tactic of saying, I'm looking at it, but then not do it. He's keeping the continual secret arrest, indefinite detention. Can you speak to prosecuting or at least investigating Bush? Or can we just, I guess, let him get away with it? I mean, what does this do precedent-wise to let them get away with Blackwater and underage girls and all the rest of it? I mean, is there no end? If we put up with this level of evil, what comes next?
That's exactly right. We mustn't. I mean, we mustn't put up with this. I think we, the people, must really speak out. My own belief, I think Obama's in a very difficult spot. I'm not, obviously, I'm not privy to what's going on with him. I'm not a psychologist. But he has to know that Kennedy was assassinated. 2 Kennedys were assassinated. I mean, U.S. presidents get assassinated, too. It isn't just foreign presidents. And once you're in that White House, I think you begin to see things that you never saw before. I suspect Obama is getting tremendous amounts of pressure put on him. It's one of the reasons he's been caving into so many things. His own attorney general, Eric Holder, was a partner in a law firm called Covington and Burling, LLP. This law firm defended Chiquita, the big banana company that's now the big company in Honduras. Chiquita was accused of hiring assassination squads in Colombia, and their main defender was an attorney named Eric Holder, who's now our attorney general.
Is that United Fruit?
Chiquita.
What was Chiquita formerly? Was it Standard Fruit or United Fruit?
Yeah, Chiquita was United Fruit at one time. And
so that's the famous folks then overthrowing on record Guatemala.
Arbans of Guatemala, yes, back in the 50s.
Same story over and okay. Sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
Same story. Chiquita, incidentally, was found guilty of hiring assassination squads in Colombia. In fact, it admitted that it had paid organizations listed by the U.S. government as terrorist groups for protection and paid a $25 million fine in 2004. Eric Holder, our current attorney general, was their main defender then, and now he's defending the actions of the coup that overthrew a democratically elected president in Honduras. It's just another instance, Alex, of how ingrained all of this is in all of our governments, whether we have Democrats in there, including the most liberal Democrat we've had, the current one, Obama, or whether we have conservative Republicans like Bush. The real people in control of the big corporations, and they really really run the system. We're seeing this over and over and over again. And so you've got guys like Cheney, you've got guys like all the cabinet members you mentioned earlier who now are trying not to be found guilty of being involved in assassination attempts. But the fact of the matter is, all these people at the top of government come out of the big corporations. It's a revolving door thing. And so whether it's Democrats or Republicans, you've got people that are constantly at the top. Well, I call it the corporatocracy, because whether they're working for the government or whether they're working for private corporations, they're all working for the same thing, which is expanding this empire.
Well, John Perkins, I'm not defending Obama because I saw him built up as this big corporate juggernaut. I saw him getting 4+ times the money that McCain got. I wasn't supporting McCain either. I just was clear he was the anointed one. But I do have to give credit when I do occasionally see it. Panetta did scurry over immediately to Congress within days of getting in and said, look, they just, admitted to me they've got all these hit squads. So at least he did that. But was that him covering his butt? Because then you bring up the Attorney General, who's been involved in black ops. I would add Oklahoma City, by the way. Very scary person. We got some federal documents on that, him covering things up. So are you just saying, if it is business as usual, then why would Panetta come out?
Well, I don't have any inside information on Obama's personality or those people around him. But my suspicion is that he's probably a guy with a conscience who would like to do the right thing, and so would many of his people. But you get caught in the system, and once you're in, it's extremely scary. And what are you going to do? How are you going to fight the CIA? How are you going to fight the military? So you try to do whatever you can on whatever front you can. And I've seen this happen time and time again with Latin American presidents who want to do the right things but realize that if they get thrown out or if they get assassinated, that's not going to do any good, because the next president coming along is just going to be scared, terribly scared, and not going to do anything. So you try to stay in power, and you try to do what you can. In the case of a guy like Obama, he's tried to institute some environmental laws that are decent, and he's tried to do things with health insurance, but he keeps running up against very, very powerful forces of resistance. And so it comes down to us. We have to speak out a lot more. We have to do a lot more. We, the people, we have to stand up to corporations and say, listen, I'm not buying from Dole or Chiquita, and send them emails and tell them, we're never buying another one of your bananas or pineapples because of what you're doing in Honduras. You change your ways or we're going to force you to go out of business. And I'll tell you what, if enough of us do that, they'll have to change their ways. If enough of us stop buying Nike and send them emails and saying, we're not buying from you because you get sweatshops in Indonesia, and instead we buy from sweatshop-free organizations and send them emails and tell them why, eventually Nike's going to have to change its ways. And so
I do agree with you that responsible consumerism is one of the strongest tools we've got. That's why these monopoly men want to create nothing but cartels where we don't even have a choice. But, just take 10 years ago, you couldn't find organic. Even in Austin or San Francisco, it was hard to get. Now organic's even in small towns because people demanded it and then built a market. Buying local is getting bigger and bigger.
And we've gotten the companies that trans fats out of foods recently, and we got rid of aerosol cans. We're destroying the ozone layer. We've got companies that clean up terribly polluted rivers. We have a lot of power when we use it. I think we need to understand that it's always come from we the people. We didn't get rid of slavery in this country because Abraham Lincoln found himself in the White House. We got rid of slavery because we voted in a president, Lincoln, who was opposed to slavery. Women didn't get the right to vote because Woodrow Wilson was pro-suffrage. He was not. Women got the right to vote because they'd been demonstrating for it for a long time. And then when Wilson was president, he constantly was out on the road speaking about how we needed to get involved in World War I, how we needed to defend democracy in Europe. Women met him at every place he went, holding up huge placards that said, why should we defend democracy in Europe when half of our population in the United States can't vote? So finally, Woodrow Wilson came around. We didn't get out of Vietnam because Richard Nixon was anti-war. He was pro-war. He had to take us out of Vietnam because he understood that we, the people, were not going to put up with it any longer. Plus, we were losing the war. But I think we need to understand that we, the people, need to take action. And in this particular case, in some respects, it's easier than it's ever been because these things are all controlled by big corporations today. And the marketplace is democratic if we choose to make it such. These corporations only exist because we buy the goods and services, or our tax dollars buy the goods and services. Alex, we need to turn that around. We, the people, need to start taking more responsibility. It doesn't do any good to complain about these things and then go out and buy bananas from Dole or tennis shoes from Nike.